So now I want to build up the horoscope so you can see what it looks like. So initially, there's a circle of the heavens, and it's divided into 360 degrees. 1 degree, each degree, 360 degrees. And that's how it would look like. On here, I put little points that divide the 4 seasons, or the 4 divided into 4 sections, but it's 360 degrees. So when you look at the circle, then you can then see it will start at the top for this one. You see it goes from 0 up to 90 degrees, up to 180 degrees, over to 270 degrees, and back to 360 degrees. So really, but you want to remember, it's just telling you how the sequence it goes in, how it goes around. And by seeing the main divisions, you get the sense of the quarters of the circle. So in the northern hemisphere, the circle moves counterclockwise. It goes the opposite way of the clock. If you're going to the southern hemisphere, you'd have to count it the other way, or as if you're looking at the paper the other way around, turn it around. So here, it's the same 360 degrees, but it's divided into 12 main sections, whereas we had the 4 sections, and we divided each one into 30-degree divisions. And the smaller divisions along you go along are 5-degree divisions. The 1 degrees are still there, but we mark them into 30-degree divisions for each sign, and 5 degrees so you can read each 5 degrees. So it's easy to recognize the chart or read it. So it's not just one ring of degrees. These are just put into for easier reading and understanding where something is. So the wheel gets divided in 12 main divisions. This shows it a little bit better. So you're seeing a degree. Sometimes you see a chart, they just have the degrees and the signs. They don't show you all of this, but it's just a semantics of how they do it. So really, it goes 0 to 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Then there's an end that goes 0 to 30, 0 to 30, 0. So in the zodiac, each sign goes from 0 to 30 degrees, and they count from counterclockwise. 0 is at one point as you're going counterclockwise, it goes up to 30 degrees. As soon as it gets to 30 degrees, it changes to the next sign. So 31 degrees would be the same as 1 degree of the next sign. So you have to remember each of the signs as they go around in order. So you have to memorize the symbols, and then you need to memorize them in their sequence. It's just like you count 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. You don't count 10s, 30s, 20s, 50s, 40s. We don't count it like that. It's too confusing. So they have a definite order, just like our numbers do. So the signs, this is the beginning of seeing the signs. Each one is 30 degrees, and each line here is 5 degrees, so it makes it easier to count. So when you put the signs in, this is how we usually see a chart. On this chart, we have Capricorn at the top. I put the 0 at Capricorn. Most people started at Aries, but really the year begins at the greatest darkness. And it starts there, it builds up to the greatest light, comes back to the greatest darkness. But here you can see the 30-degree divisions, Capricorn, Aquarius. They're written in. They don't have the symbols on it. They just put them in words here. And you can still see the 5-degree sections, the 30-degree divisions that are each sign, and the order that they are around the zodiac. Okay, so if you're not able to before the end of this or at the end of this to download these files, just email me, and I'll send you a copy of all these files. So you're not going to have to draw all these things out. So here you are, a basic zodiac form with the zodiac horoscope form with the zodiac put on it. We haven't put the houses or planets on it yet. We have the zodiac put on it with the symbols. The symbols are put in. Now, when you're going around a circle, you see that on the bottom the words are upside down, because the center of the page is the down, and the outside is where the stars are. It goes up. So when you go around a circle, you have to do that. Well, some people will write it in the other way, but the symbols, everything else, are put in the same way. If you rotate it, you would still have the same. Whatever's up top, you would see in the right way. So you just get used to doing this. But you see the 30-degree divisions, the 5-degree divisions. They're marked, there's lines, but once you know what they are, it's easy to count 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 Aries. Then you're into Taurus. So again, this is just, it's half knowing what you're looking at so you don't freak out when you look at a chart. You can see what it's doing. Okay, so here's the chart that you see with the zodiac put in, the degrees, the signs, no numbers put in, all that's extra thoughts. But that's the mechanic that build up the chart. So you know it now. Once we have all the zodiac, then we're going to want to see what's where. So then we have to add, once we get this, what they do here, see that's the band of the zodiac. Then there's a couple more bands put on this. There's an inner main wheel where we put the symbols, and a little edge here, really supposedly representing the moon, but it's really just to put the planets in their exact degrees so we can see them around the chart. So when we go to put planets in, when we use an ephemeris, now we get this all on computer, so usually you just have to know to look at it. But when you're calculating a chart and you have to draw up a chart, or you have the planets' positions in to draw it up, you have to follow. Say your sun is at 20. This is 27 degrees 55 minutes, say, of Sagittarius. So you'd make like with the sun and the moon, we'd make a line going right from here, from the bottom of that inner circle, bottom of the outer circle, out to the degrees of the zodiac. So we can see at 28 degrees, 20. You don't see exactly the minutes, but you see close enough. Around 28 degrees, there's the line for the sun. And I leave a space in the middle here so I can put the symbol for the sun in. So you look at see the symbol for the sun, then as soon as you see it, you can follow the line up to exactly where the degree is. You can do this in a second. For each planet, you'll see this, and you'll be able to read the chart. And even without having all the numbers around, you can still see pretty close to the degree that that planet is in. The moon, too, has the line go straight out. In this case, the moon's at 5 degrees 50 minutes of Capricorn, and we put the line in for the Capricorn. Usually I draw the line in first from the center of the circle out to the degrees with a ruler. I don't draw the line from the center, but just from this edge up to the degree, leave the space and put the planet in, put the moon in. So in this case, the sun and moon are put in on the chart. Mercury and Venus, they put the line in. I just put them in the same degrees here, but in the degree, and the line's connected on the bottom. But Mercury and Venus are inner planets, so they're connected to the inside line. There's still a gap. It's directly above it, so you still can see here's Venus, goes up to where it's at 28 Sag. Here's Mercury at 6 of Capricorn. But there's a little break here. It's not attached to that line. It's close enough to it. It's attached to the bottom, so you know it's an inner planet rather than an outer. Okay. So when you take the outer planets, just push the outer planets in, and each of the outer symbols has a straight line on the top of it, and Pluto on the bottom of it, that gets attached to the outer line. The line goes in the degree that each planet is in, but the planet gets drawn. Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, they get drawn, attached right onto the line, not floating in between. Only the sun and the moon float in between those lines. Mercury and Venus attached on the bottom. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, they're all attached to the outside, right on the line. So anytime you see the symbol, you immediately see the line, and in a second you can see what degree of what sign it's in. Okay, this is really useful when you start adding sensitive points, stars, comparing charts. It allows you a literacy. It's like, what would it be like if you had a magnifying glass? Say you have glasses, and you look at something, or you look at someone across the road. You just see a certain amount to recognize them. But if it's right close to you, you can see much more closely, much more intimately. So this degree system of putting the zodiac in each degree in allows you to go into more detail in the chart and see it without getting lost in the complexity. And when the nodes are put in, they're put in like this, right in the same band, right out to the degree, but then the arrow is put in direction. That's the north node. So when we do it, I would usually put the planets in black, and when I put the nodes in, I put them in red. So you see this line. This is the moon's node, so it can tell you if the moon's on one side, it's north of the plane, it's above the Earth's plane. If it's on the other side, it's below the Earth's plane. And when it's right on the nodes, there's a special sensitivity. So it's used. I don't use it too much in my interpretations and my basic interpretations. It's used extensively in India and other places. They use it very strongly. So this is just an example. I'm going to go through these quickly. The sun at 23 Libra. I put a ruler across the line here to 23 degrees, almost 24 degrees of Libra, 23:18. And then I don't draw the line. I draw a line there, and I draw a line. You see the dark part of the line. The dotted part doesn't get drawn in. Only the dark part. Once I have the ruler, I line that up and draw it in like that. So you end up with just this line like this. But because it's the sun, we're going to put the sun in the middle. So it's there. It's aligned exactly to the degree. You see where it is. It's anchored very specifically. And so when you're seeing the sun at 20, when you see the chart, you see a sun, you look from the beginning of the sign, 5, 10, 15, 20, 23, 18, you see the degree in the middle. You can't see it so exactly, but here it was 23 degrees 18, and that's where the sun was put in on the chart. I mean, when you're drawing a chart, your pencil's half a degree, so you can't get it much more accurate than this. Then when you put the moon in, this was putting a moon at 1945 Cancer. So I find the 1949 Cancer. I draw the ruler up where the dotted line is from the center to the edge. And then I draw that solid line there and the short solid line, the long one out to the degree. And then once that's there, I put the moon symbol in. So here's a chart with the sun and the moon in. Here the sun is in Libra, moon is in Cancer. This is my chart, so you'll be able to refer back to it if you want. In this case, Mercury's at 13 degrees 37 Scorpio. So you see 0 Libra, 0 Scorpio. You see end of Libra, 0 Scorpio, start at Scorpio. You look 1337, then you draw that, put your ruler there, draw the lines in, there and there, and then you put the Mercury in. If it were retrograde, you could put an R right on the long stem, just between the edge and the Scorpio symbol. You can put an R on that stem and you'd know it's retrograde and be able to see it easily. So this is just putting all the other planets in, giving examples. I'm not going to stay on this. It's too tedious to talk about it all, but just you're seeing the same thing. Back with Venus in. Then we got Venus in, just the beginning of Sag. Venus and Mercury aren't touching the outer line. You still can see exactly where it is. Then we got to put Mars in here. Mercury and Mars are very, very close to each other. So the symbols could crash into each other very easily. What I tend to do is I squish Mercury up a little bit so it's a little smaller down, and I make room for the Mars. So Mars is on the outside stem, Mercury is on the inside stem. So the Mercury and Venus will squish inwardly, and the other planets. So when they're conjunction, they can be exactly where they are without cluttering up the chart. In the other way of using just the houses, if 3 planets are conjunction, they're written beside each other, and you lose the sense of exactly where they are in the chart. That can affect how you interpret it when you're comparing charts or when you're looking at transit. It makes it more complicated to see when things are going on. So it seems a little fine-tuned now, but it's a more accurate tool. So we're just preparing the tool of language. So here we add Jupiter in. Jupiter comes in, and you draw the lines in, and you'll see how it's attached to the line goes onto the stem, then the symbol is put onto the